The sun filtered softly through the curtains of Jimin's house, casting golden streaks across the polished wooden floor. Jungkook stepped inside the familiar home, his backpack slung lazily over one shoulder. "Hyung. I'm here," Jungkook called out, kicking off his shoes and ruffling his dark hair. Jimin appeared from the kitchen with 2 cans of soda. "You're late, idiot. I told you movie night starts at 7, relax," Jungkook laughed, plopping onto the couch. "You'll forgive me anyway," Jimin smiled. "You know I always do." Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway. Jungkook turned his head lazily, and paused. There, emerging from the shadows, was a man Jungkook didn't recognize right away. Tall, sharp-featured, with jet black hair and a calm expression that exuded quiet dominance. He wore a simple button-up shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms, and he looked completely out of place among the youthful chaos of Jimin's room. "That's my uncle," Jimin said, noticing Jungkook's stare. "Kim Taehyung. He's staying with us for a few weeks." Taehyung's eyes landed on Jungkook. For a moment, time felt slower. "You must be Jungkook," Taehyung said, voice smooth and low. "I've heard a lot about you," Jungkook blinked. "Oh, yeah. Hi." He stood up a little too fast, awkwardly bowing. Taehyung chuckled softly. "Jungkook, stop being weird," Jimin teased. "He's not gonna bite," but that was the problem. Because for the first time, Jungkook wasn't looking at someone like an uncle or authority figure. He was looking at a man. A man who had eyes that saw right through him. Later that night as the movie played, Jimin dozed off beside him. But Jungkook wasn't watching the screen. He was staring into the hallway, where the dim light cast shadows and revealed the silhouette of Taehyung standing near the kitchen, drinking water in silence. Jungkook's heart thudded annoyingly loud. He hated the way his skin tingled when Taehyung looked over and caught him watching. Taehyung said nothing. Just raised a brow. A silent challenge. "Are you going to pretend you weren't staring?" Jungkook quickly turned back to the screen, cheeks burning. "The seed is planted," he told himself. It was just curiosity. But that night, as he lay beside Jimin, who was snoring lightly, Jungkook couldn't stop thinking about those eyes, that smirk, that deep voice. Kim Taehyung. His best friend's uncle. Off limits. And yet, all Jungkook could think about was how badly he wanted to see him again. The soft creak of the wooden stairs echoed in the silence of the house. It was past midnight, but Jungkook couldn't sleep. His mind was a mess, tangled between guilt and desire. He quietly stepped out of Jimin's room, barefoot and hoodie draped, heading toward the kitchen for water. But he wasn't alone. Taehyung stood there again, by the sink. Sleeves rolled, shirt unbuttoned just enough to show his toned collarbones. A soft amber glow from the overhead light cast shadows on his sharp jawline. "You're awake," Taehyung said, voice low, calm, like velvet against the hush of the night. Jungkook stopped in his tracks. "Yeah. Couldn't sleep." Taehyung handed him a glass of water without a word. Their fingers brushed. Jungkook felt the touch all the way to his spine. "Everything okay?" Taehyung asked, watching him closely. Jungkook sipped the water to distract himself. "I guess. Just thinking, you're not as loud as Jimin said you were." Taehyung smirked lightly, eyes lingering. Jungkook chuckled nervously. "I have layers." Taehyung leaned against the counter. "I can see that." Silence. Heavy. Charged. Taehyung didn't move, didn't break eye contact. And Jungkook, He didn't look away either. That was the first moment he knew. He was falling. Or maybe sinking. And Taehyung wasn't stopping him. The next day Jimin nudged Jungkook during breakfast. "You saw him again last night, didn't you?" Jungkook's spoon froze midair. "What, my uncle? You've been weird since he came." Jungkook laughed it off. "He's just cool. Nothing more." Jimin gave him a look. The kind that lingered. The kind that hurt, even if Jungkook didn't know why yet. "I know you better than anyone," Jimin muttered. "So don't lie to me." Jungkook swallowed hard, ignoring the way his chest tightened. Later that evening, confession in the air, Jungkook found himself outside on the rooftop. The city lights flickered below. And beside him, once again, was Taehyung, leaning on the railing, both of them hidden from the world. "You know this is wrong, right?" Taehyung said suddenly, voice quiet but firm. Jungkook looked at him, heart pounding. "What?" Taehyung turned to face him, eyes piercing. Us. Whatever this is becoming." Jungkook's voice shook. "I didn't do anything, you didn't have to," Taehyung said, stepping closer. "You look at me like you already want everything." Jungkook's breath hitched. And Taehyung, he looked at him like he was breaking his own rules just by standing there. Jungkook's voice trembled. "What if I do?" Taehyung didn't answer. His gaze dropped to Jungkook's lips for half a second, then he turned and walked away, leaving Jungkook alone, knees weak and heart screaming. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Jimin stood behind the half-open door, having seen it all. His fists clenched. His chest ached. He had loved Jungkook for years. And now, he was watching him slip away, into the arms of someone Jimin could never compete with. His own uncle. Jungkook avoided both of them the next day. Jimin was quiet, too quiet. He didn't joke, didn't tease, didn't even complain when Jungkook ignored his texts all morning. And Taehyung, well, Taehyung wasn't around. He was out, apparently. Jungkook told himself it was better that way. That space would kill the tension. But all it did was make him restless. Evening, the room upstairs. It was nearing midnight again when Jungkook found himself outside the guest room door, Taehyung's room. He stared at it for a long time, debating, hating himself a little for being there. But before he could walk away, the door opened. Taehyung stood there, chest bare, towel slung around his neck. His hair was damp, skin still glistening from a shower. He didn't seem surprised to see Jungkook. "Can't sleep again?" Jungkook nodded slowly. "Come in," Taehyung said, stepping aside. It wasn't an invitation. It was a challenge. Inside the room smelled like sandalwood and mint. Clean, calm, dangerously intimate. Jungkook sat on the edge of the bed while Taehyung leaned against the desk, crossing his arms. His eyes studied Jungkook, like he was trying to memorize the way he breathed. "Why do you keep coming here?" Taehyung asked, low and unreadable. Jungkook looked up. "Because I don't know how to stay away." Taehyung exhaled slowly. "You're young. You don't know what you're asking for." "I'm not a kid," Jungkook shot back. "No, you're not," Taehyung admitted. "But you're my nephew's best friend." Jungkook stood, walking toward him slowly. "And you're not doing a good job of pretending that bothers you." Their eyes locked again, heat rising. Taehyung didn't move, didn't speak. But when Jungkook stopped just inches away from him, he said, "You shouldn't be here. I know. You should go." "I won't." Taehyung's voice dropped, like a final warning. "If you stay, Jungkook." I won't able to keep holding back. And then, his restraint cracked. Taehyung reached out, fingers gently brushing Jungkook's jaw. Soft, careful, but burning. Jungkook's breath caught. His voice was barely a whisper. Then don't. But just before their lips could meet, the door swung open. Jimin's voice. Jungkook froze. Taehyung immediately stepped back. Jimin stood there in the doorway, eyes wide, betrayed, shattered. I was right, he whispered. Jungkook opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Jimin's hands shook. You told me you'd never fall for anyone like him. I didn't mean to, but you did. He looked between the two of them. Jungkook, helpless. Taehyung, silent. Then he turned and walked away. Jungkook started after him, but Taehyung grabbed his wrist. Let him go, but let him feel it. Jungkook looked back at him, eyes stinging. I didn't want this to happen like this, neither did I, but they both knew. There was no turning back now. 3 days passed. Jimin hadn't spoken to Jungkook once. Every glance he threw him in the house was cold. Silent. Distant. Like they weren't best friends who grew up together. Like Jungkook wasn't the boy who once knew all of Jimin's secrets. Jungkook had knocked on his door. Once. Twice. A dozen times. But the door never opened. And Taehyung? Taehyung was gone. No note. No text. Not even a goodbye. Just vanished. A week later, Rooftop silence. Jungkook sat on the rooftop again. Same place. Same cold wind. He felt empty. The only two people he cared about had walked out of his life. And he hated himself for how much he missed one of them. Taehyung. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke the silence. You always did prefer the rooftop. Jungkook turned sharply. Taehyung stood there. A bit breathless. Like he'd run to find him. Hair messy. Eyes raw. You left, Jungkook whispered. I needed to, Taehyung said, stepping forward. I thought if I gave it time, the feeling would go away. Jungkook stood slowly. Taehyung didn't speak. He walked forward until they were face to face again. No, he finally said. It only got worse. Jungkook's throat tightened. Then why? Because I was scared, Jungkook. Scared of what it would mean. Scared I'd ruin everything. You didn't ruin anything, Jungkook said, voice shaking. You're the only part that ever felt real. Taehyung looked at him then, truly looked. You still want this? Yes, Jungkook said. Even if it hurts. Even if it's messy. I want you. Taehyung didn't hesitate this time. He pulled Jungkook into his arms, lips crashing into his like a promise long overdue. The kiss was fire and ache, all the longing they'd buried bursting to life. It was forbidden. It was reckless. But it was real. And finally, they didn't fight it. Later that night they lay tangled in Taehyung's bed, warm, bare, breathless. Taehyung brushed Jungkook's hair back, voice soft. We'll deal with Jimin. We'll deal with everything, Jungkook nodded, tracing his fingers along Taehyung's chest. As long as we do it together. A year later Jimin sat across from them at a small cafe, arms crossed, lips pressed in a line. I still think it's weird, he muttered, sipping his coffee. Taehyung chuckled. You'll get over it, Jungkook grinned, reaching for Taehyung's hand. Thanks for showing up, Jimin rolled his eyes but smiled faintly. You're both idiots. But, you're happy, Taehyung looked at Jungkook. And Jungkook nodded. More than ever.